This is Math 7, assignment 7.4, page 273, number 1, 2, 3, and 5 from book B. This is the answer key. So question number 1 said the daily high temperatures for 1 week at Clearwater Harbor were, and it said 27, 31, 23, 25, 28, 23, and 28. I put them in order because I knew I was going to need to come up with my median. So I've put them in order. In order to get your mean, what you need to do, part A says we need our mean, our median, and our mode. To find the mean, you add up all those values, all those numbers, add them up, and then divide by 7. So these added up was 185, divide by 7 is approximately 26.4. If you wrote 26, that's okay, or 26 decimal, it said 428, but if you're doing 2 decimals, you need to round that 2 up to 3, or 26 decimal 428571 repeated. That's what you'd end up getting if you kept doing your long division. So any of those will work. Median, we need to find the middle value. There's 7 values. Divide by 2 and add 1. Divide by 2 is 3, add 1 is 4, so the fourth number will be our middle number. Why? Because there's 3 to the left, 3 to the right. That's the middle number. So median 7. Mode, remember it's the most common. This is a good pattern that I've noticed. If ever you write down more than one of a certain value, you already know that there's going to be a mode. Now, there could be more than one mode, and in this case, there's 2 23s and 2 28s, and only one of the other ones. So 23 and 28 are modes. Both of those are modes. So that question A is out of 4. Question 2 says this: which average do you think is best to describe the daily high temperature at Clearwater Harbor that week? Explain. So which is the best? Well, looking here, none of these really seem like outliers. They all seem reasonable. It's not like those days in Saskatchewan we get where one day it's plus 23 and the next day it's negative 5. There's not a big jump around. This is all within certain round. This is only 3 above the one that's lower than this. This is only 2. It kind of jumps up and down, but this is all reasonable. Since there's no outliers, we say that the mean is the best. When there's no outliers, the mean is the best average. When there are outliers, the median would be the best. And if we're talking about sizes or increments of sorts, we'd use mode as our average that would be best. So in this case, no, it's going to be mean because there's no outliers. In this case, you wouldn't be too far off if you set the median because they're within 1, but mean is the best when there's no outliers. Try to remember that. So out of 2, 1 for saying mean and 1 for saying the reason because there's no outliers. C, it says this: the Weather Channel reported the average temperature for Clearwater Harbor that week was 23 degrees Celsius. Is this correct? Explain. In one way, you could say, well, 23 is one of the averages. Mode is a type of average, so they're correct. But no, they aren't. If you really think about it, in order for them to be correct by saying 23, they'd also have to say 28. But when they're talking about weather, they don't usually talk about mode, and they usually will talk about one of these other ones when they're talking about average. In order to be correct saying 23, they'd have to say 28 as well, which they did not. And if you think about it, it recorded only one of the modes, and of the 7 temperatures, 5 of them are greater than 23. If you look at these temperatures, there's 23, 23. 5 of them are greater, and none of them are less. There's no temperatures less than 23, which would tell you that 23 does not represent that middle sort of value. It's representing the bottom end of it. So no, they are not correct, and there's your reason why. So question 1 is out of 8 marks. All right, question 2 here says that Caitlin received these test marks in each subject. It's that chart on the right side of your book. I've ordered them from least to greatest because I saw, again, we need to calculate the median, so we're going to need to use the middle values. So we need to find the mean, the median, the mode mark for each subject in part A. So let's go with mean. Let's do all the means first. Let's do it this way. Let's do mean first for math. We need to add all of those up and divide by 7 because there's 7 marks in each subject. So add all of those up. So adding them all up, for math, I got 522 divided by the 7 marks. I got 74.6. Why? Because I had to round the 5 up from the 7. If you wrote more decimal places, that's fine. Typically in this unit, you only need to do 1 or 2, unless they say otherwise. So I just did 1, 74.6. Music, add these class marks up, and you'd end up with 541 divided by 7, so it's greater mean 77.3, which is interesting because their lowest mark came from that class. We'll talk about that in a bit. Then there's 7 of these marks for French. They added to 521, divide by 7, and you get 74.4. So that's your lowest mean is in French. Median, this one's easy. It's just the middle numbers. So for math, it is 75. Music, it is 81. And for French, it is 74. Mode, let's look at the modes. For math, is there any that you got more than 1 mark? No, Kaylin did not get more than 1 mark, so it's no mode. For music, so yeah, 81 and 81, there's 2 of those, so it's 81. And for French, there's 74 and 74, so it'd be 74 for the mode. All right, so part B asked us to explain what the information each average gives. Well, the information that's given from the mean it's a decimal mark, which means that the mean isn't actually a mark that she actually received. The median, half of her marks are below the median value. So these numbers we had for a median, half would be below and half would be above. And the mode is the most common mark received. So when there's a mode, there's consistency in it, right? 74 she got twice, and 81 she got twice. So that's what it's talking about there. This question, I know in the past a lot have had trouble understanding, so I'm actually not giving a mark for this. Now part C says this: which subject do you think Caitlin is best at and worst at? Explain your reasoning. I have some room in here and I don't want to go on to another page, so I'm going to do it here. If you're ever doing that, sometimes putting a little box around makes it stand out so it's not part of the other questions. So part C here, which subject is she the best at? Well, looking here, which is the highest mean? Music. Which is the highest median? Music again. And which is the highest mode? Music again. So I'd say that music is best. I should say music is her best subject. I missed another word. Subject, because it is the highest mean, median, and mode. So all 3 averages are saying it's the highest, so it would be her best subject. This also asked worst at, so looking at this, which one is the lowest mean? French is the lowest mean. Which is the lowest median? French again. And which is the lowest mode? Of the ones that have mode, French is the lowest. So that would suggest that French is her worst subject because it has the lowest mean, median, and mode. So all 3 are the lowest. So part C, you're going to get 4 marks. 1 for saying music is best, 1 for saying French is worst, and the reasons why. So this would be 4 and 9. I'm just going to draw this across so that we see that there's a 4 here that needs to be used. All right. Question 3 says this table shows the tips earned by 5 waiters and waitresses during 2 weeks in December. So there's week 1, what each of these people made, and week 2, what each of these people made in tips working as a waiter. A, we need to calculate the mean, median, and mode tips for each week. So not for the person, but for the week. So we're using these values together and these values together to calculate. Well, these are already nicely in columns, so that makes it easy to add this up because we know we need to add them up to find the mean. So there's a 5. 5 plus 7 is 12. Carry the 1. 1, 2, 9, 17, 25, and 6 is 31. It's 4,125. While we're at it, let's add up this other one. 15, carry the 1. 1 plus 2 is 3, plus 7 is 10, plus 6 is 22. 2 plus 6 plus 7 is 15, plus 7 plus 8 is another 15, which is 30, plus 11 is 41. Interesting. They got the same amount of money in tips both weeks as a restaurant group of waiters, which means that the mean is going to be the same. We need to take this. So the mean for week 1 is going to equal the mean for week 2, which is going to equal is 4,125 divided by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All right, so 25 divided by 5 is 5, 100 divided by 5 is 20, and 4 divided by 5 is 800. So it's 825 is the mean for week 1 and week 2. So if you wanted to write these separately and say mean for week 1 is this, and then mean for week 2 is it, you can, but you're actually getting 2 marks for this because you calculated both of these. I'm just showing a little shorthand because if this is equal to this and this is equal to this, that means that this is also equal to this. So there's our means. So there's 2 marks there. We also need to get the median, which means we need to look at these in order. So because it's such short little lists of numbers, we can just kind of look at this. Which is the lowest? 600. Which is the next lowest? 700. Because there's 5 values, we know that the next one, the third one, will be the middle one, which is 800, which happens to be in the middle here, but it's not always going to be that. So median for week 1, I'll use a little 1 there, down below the number a little bit, is 800. And median 2, if we look at median for week 2, start at the lowest number is 600. The next one is 725. Oh, wow. This happens to be in the middle. I didn't sort these. I put it the same way it was in the book, and it's kind of a coincidence that it's the middle one on both of these. For it to always be the middle, we'd always need to sort them like this one was from least to greatest. This one was not from least to greatest. So it is 775. So median for week 1 was higher, but the means were the same. And mode, looking at modes for week 1, no one got paid the same amount. Week 2, no one got paid the same amount. So they are equal to each other. Mode for week 1 and week 2 is no mode. Now part B, I should say, is calculate the mean, median, and mode tips for the 2-week period. So now we need to do these calculations, but instead of just looking at these 5 and these 5 separate, we're supposed to do it all together. That means that this value here and this is what we're going to put together for our mean calculation. So our mean for the 2-week period is going to be all of these added to all of these, which means it's this plus this, which would be 8,250 divided by, there's 5 here, 5 here, 5 plus 5 is 10. So there's 10 values we're dividing by. And we're going to end up again with, I skipped 825. Notice that the mean is still the same, right? So the mean is still 825. The median, so if we take all these values and we find the middle values of them all, we need to find the smallest ones and count up till we get to our 5th and our 6th and find the average of those. It might be good to put these all in order, so I'm going to do that here. All right, so I've put them in order, all these values in order from least to greatest. I had to use 2 lines. Now, our 5th and our 6th, those are the middle values. There's 4 that are greater than those and 4 that are less. So we need to find the average of these two to find the middle. So we need to take our 800 plus our 775 and divide that by the two values, which would make this 782.5. 787.5. My mistake. I was looking at this 2 as I wrote, and I accidentally wrote a 2 here. So 787.5 is our median, which you'll see is different than these two, but we'll talk about that in a moment. Now the mode. Let's take the mode, figure out our mode. Looking at all these values here, which one, is there one that's more common? Yeah, 600, there's 2 of them, so the mode is 600. Before we had no mode, now there is a mode. Part C says, compare your answers in part A and B. Which are the same? Which are different? Explain why. So part C, which ones are the same? The mean is the same. I'm going to leave some room to explain why, but let's just leave that. And the median is different. Left some room here to write in my reason. And our mode is different. All right, so the mean is the same because week 1 and week 2 had the same mean, so no redistribution was necessary. They had the exact same mean, so finding the mean again, we're always going to end up with the same number as long as the previous means were the same. So that one's pretty easy to explain there. The median is different. Since the medians were different from week 1 to week 2, we were likely going to get a median that was not either of these values, but was going to be something between them, because half the values were bigger for week 1 were bigger than 800 and half were less, and half the values for week 2 were greater than 775 and half were less. So we'd expect that these two would be somewhere near the middle. Why? Because 2 of them from week 1 had to be bigger, 2 had to be less, and same thing with week 2. So you'd have 2 plus 2, there'd be 4 values less and 4 values greater. So we were expecting something like that where it would be halfway between them. If the second highest value had been less than the other one's median, though, then you'd get some sort of discrepancy where it wouldn't just be the number that's halfway between these two numbers. So to write an answer for that, so the median is different because half the values for each week were less than both medians and half were greater than both medians. So they were still the 2 middle values that were being used to find a different one. Because these weren't the same, that meant that our median would have to be halfway between those two. Finally, the mode is different simply because the 2 sets, the 2 weeks, made, oh, I almost wrote, skipped my A. Because the 2 weeks made it so there was a duplicate 600. There's another way to word this, I'm sure. Skipped an A again. Which made this 600 the most common. Before there wasn't any that was 2. That's why the mode has changed from 600 from being no mode. All right, part D simply says which average best represents. So I'm just going to use this up here, this set that I've put in order. We'll notice it doesn't go up any. It goes up 100, it goes up 125, goes up 50, goes up 25, goes up 60, goes up 15. But then there's this pretty substantial jump to this one, and not so much here. But these two arguably could be considered outliers. Why? Because it went up about, well, 275 is when it went up here. It's a pretty big leap. These two are outliers that are bringing the mean up from the median. The mean is quite a bit higher than the median because of these 2 outliers. They're not substantial outliers, but arguably saying that because there's median outliers, the median is the best average. Okay, because 1150 and 1165 are somewhat greater. Sorry, I meant to say substantially greater than the rest. Like if you think about it, the difference between this 600, the lowest value, and this third highest value is 275. And then from this value to this one, it jumps up 275. This jump is as much as from the lowest here to here, which says that these are all consistent, whereas these ones are different. So that's why we're saying the median is the best average in this case, because of the outliers. Let's assign some marks for this. You got 2 marks for calculating both means, both weeks' means, 2 for calculating each median, and 2 for saying no mode for each of those. So part A is out of 6. Part B, you need to get the mean, the median, and the mode. So that's out of 3. Part C, you need to say whether they're the same or different. So saying the mean is the same as 1 mark, saying the median is different, and saying the mode is different, there's 3 marks, and saying a reason why for each of them is another mark. So that's out of 6. Sorry. Same, different, different are the marks, and then the reasons why would be another mark. It doesn't have to be these exact reasons necessarily, like the wording, but those ideas should be there. And part D, the median, that's 1 mark, and saying because of outliers or substantially greater. Okay, saying outlier, something like that. So that's out of 2 marks for part D. Part 5, question 5, it says, is each conclusion correct? Explain your reasoning. So number 5A says, the mean cost of a medium pizza is $10. Mean is $10. So the prices of 3 medium pizzas could be $9, $10, and $11. Okay, so maybe these pizzas had different toppings and that's why they cost different. Well, for the mean to be 10, that means that this plus this plus this, so 9 plus 10 plus 11, all divided by 1, 2, 3, there's 3 values, needs to be 10. 9 plus 11 is 20, plus 10 is 30, divided by 3, it equals 10. So the answer is yes, because the mean is $10. Or you could say the sum of the pizza prices divided by 3 is 10, which is what I showed with my work here. So yes is 1 mark, and some sort of reason or showing your work is another mark. So part A is out of 2. Part B says this. It says, the number of raisins in each of 30 cookies was counted. So there's 30 cookies. And the number of raisins in those cookies were counted. The mean number of raisins was 15. So the mean equals 15. So in 10 cookies, there would be a total of 150 raisins. So 10 cookies would be 150 raisins. So doing the math, 10 cookies times our mean, the average in it, would be 150 raisins, right? But knowing cookies, does every cookie have the same amount of raisins in it? No. Some might have more, some might have less. And thinking about it, this is the mean. Sometimes the mean doesn't even represent the number of raisins that are in cookies. Sometimes it's got a decimal or something like that. So our answer here would be no. Even though the math would line up that that's what it'd be, this question said there would be a total of 150 raisins. Would it be exactly that? No, because some cookies might have more, or some might have less than the 15. Maybe the batter gets mixed a little differently and, the raisins fall to the bottom. And these cookies that we're looking at here, these 10 cookies come from the batch that are scooped from the top and don't have as many raisins. There's real world situations that would make this a little different. So your answer would be no, and here's our reason why for 2. If you showed that the math was and you said yes because of this, I would give 1.5 marks. If you said yes and you showed this work here, I'd give 1.5 marks, so 1.5 out of 2. But we need to always use this math and realize the real world application of it, and make sure we're looking at that we can show that, okay, the math is saying that theoretically this would happen, but sometimes the theoretical doesn't happen. This assignment's out of 42 marks if we added all of that up.